Chapter 13. As Lester Swan loaded the others back onto the bus, assigning them seats well away from each other, and surveying the damage to the windows mournfully, I tried making a deal with God. I vowed that I would eat my green beans without complaint. I'd be a good person. I'd never take more than 1/2 of a powdered sugar donut after Sunday school, ever again. If only I could stop hearing voices when someone nearby had ink on their skin, especially voices that insisted on sharing secrets and feelings others preferred to keep hid. I hadn't cried once since Papa's accident. But now that I'd started, there on that big pink bus, I couldn't stop. Everything felt broken and hopeless. What if this had all been for nothing? What if Papa was already better and sitting up in bed, laughing and talking with Mama and Rocket? Or what if Papa was worse? What if he was... I sobbed harder, trying to push my worst fears out of my mind. Samson wiggled out from under the cot, dragging the almost empty bag of potato chips and the Slim Jim wrappers with him. Sitting down on the floor next to me, offering me the last salty crumbs of chips without a word. He rested one gentle hand on my arm. I'm not sure what it was about my shy and shadowy Samson, but his touch always made a person feel more braced up inside. It happened now and then. I knew that some folks got their savvy early. Mama's brother, Uncle Autry, had 5-year-old twin girls who could make their plastic ponies hover an inch or two above the ground as they played, moving them up and down like carousel horses. But outside of our cousins, that sort of thing was rare. Maybe it made a difference that the girls were twins and seemed to share a savvy between them. Perhaps Samson's strengthening touch was just an ordinary sort of human magic, the kind of magic that exists in the honest, heartfelt concern of one person for another. Regardless of the reason, when with Samson's small hand on my arm, it wasn't long before my eyes began to dry. What's the half-baked idiot thinking? Lester should have his head examined, Rhonda was saying from Lester's left arm. How could any son of mine turn out to be such a namby-pamby? What he should do is leave these rotten kids on the side of the road, the same way I ditched that mangy dog of his when the beast chewed up my best Red's shoes, said Carleen from his right. Instead, the dolt bandages their boo-boos and pats them on the head. I knew I didn't care much for Lester's mom, Rhonda, and I was certain I didn't care at all for Carleen. But Lester Swan must have felt something strong for each of them, having seen the need to tattoo their names right on his skin. To me, those two seemed like heavy ladies to heft around. Rising to my knees, I peered up over the seats and boxes, through the dimming light, to watch Lester root around under the driver's seat, then come up looking triumphant, with a rusty old metal box, with a red first aid cross on it. He handed the box to Bobby, who looked at it like Lester had just handed her a dead rat. What do you want me to do with this? Bobby asked. Lester hemmed and hawed as he pointed toward the first aid kit. Maybe you could tend to the boys so I might try to cover some of these windows and get us back on the road. I don't tend, said Bobby, sounding snarly and sarcastic, with her lip pulled into a sneer. What do I look like? A nurse? No, you just look like the oldest, Lester said, with a crooked half-smile, though his shoulders twitched again, nearly jumping all the way up to his ears this time. He crossed and uncrossed his arms, as though trying to figure out how to look like he required listening to. This is all Mib's fault. Make her tend, said Bobby, handing the first aid kit back to Lester. Twitch. Twitch. Lester took the box back from Bobby and looked down the length of the bus, catching my eye where I peered over the last seat. Even through the gloom of nightfall, I could recognize the look of a drowning man when I saw one. I couldn't stand to listen to Carleen and Rhonda snicker and scoff as Lester sank below the tide of Bobby's attitude. Maybe this was my chance to show God how good I could be, show him that I was worth some reconsidering on his part, that maybe I deserved better than what I'd gotten so far on my most important day. Lester looked mighty grateful when I stood up and walked toward the front of the bus, taking the first aid kit from him with a hiccup and an awkward, sorry smile. After all, Bobby had been right when she'd said that this deep-fried pickle of a situation was all my fault. If it hadn't been for my birthday, or the choices I'd made because of my birthday, things might have turned out different. I was discovering that sometimes the outcome of a choice was almost as hard to predict or to control as a new savvy. I opened the first aid kit, as Lester tried in vain to cover the broken windows. 3 panes had blown out completely, and a 4th looked ready to fall out of its frame at the first bump in the road. Lester appeared on the verge of tears himself as he finally gave up his attempts at wedging cardboard across the gaping holes, and started the bus. The sound of the noisy engine doing little to dampen the voices still ringing in my head. "That Lester," said Rhonda. "Stupid man," said Carleen. "She's not sure if she likes you, or if she thinks you're a freak," said Bobby's angel, sounding bored. "I'm not a freak, Bobby," I said, as I stubbornly pulled gauze and dried up and useless antibacterial wipes from the first aid kit. "What?" Bobby cranked her neck around to look at me. "What did you just say?" I swallowed hard and said nothing, realizing that I'd spoken out loud when I should have kept my mouth closed tight, tight, tight. I pulled a dusty cold pack from the first aid kit, the kind you have to twist to make go cold, and concentrated on that. I could feel Bobby's eyes on me, trying to dissect me like a splayed and gutted frog. I twisted the pack with a crack and felt a slow chill spread through the small plastic bag. Turning around, I moved 3 rows back to where Will Jr. sat with his black eye. The spring night air rushed through the broken windows as Lester took a turn, too sharp and too fast, making the bus lurch and groan as he got us back onto the highway, sending boxes, magazines, and Bibles sliding. I stumbled and tumbled down onto the seat next to Will, handing him the cold pack for his eye, with a little more force than I'd intended, nearly hitting him in the nose with it. "Sorry," I said, trying to move quickly back under the aisle of the bumping, jumping bus. But Will Jr. took hold of my hand and pulled me back down to sit on the seat next to him. He pressed the pack carefully to his eye, making a face. Still holding on to my hand, he looked at me full and square with his good eye. "I'm not mad, Mibbs," he said. I didn't know if he meant he wasn't mad about me pushing an ice pack up his nose, or if he wasn't mad about the rest of it, about what had happened back in B. I was hoping it was the second thing. "I'm not a freak," I said. "I didn't say you were." "No, but maybe you were thinking it." Will paused, dropping the plastic pack to his lap, glancing at his sister, then studying me with both eyes, as though trying to see all the way down to my DNA. "Was Bobby thinking it?" "I have to clean up those scratches Bobby gave Fish," I said, avoiding Will's question and starting to get up, but he held my hand tight. "Was Bobby thinking it? Was she thinking you're a freak?" "Maybe." "How do you know that, Mibbs?" I shrugged. How do you know that? Tell me, Mibbs. What happened when you drew that picture on my hand? Why'd you flip out? And how does Fish make it storm like that? I know he's doing it. He's gotta be." Will leaned in closer. "I just want to know." Will had that eager look in his face again. He was dying to know my secret. "Just tell me, Mibbs. Tell me what makes you Beaumonts so special."